Hello, folks. Welcome to FreepCast. My name is Joe Spear. I'm the managing editor of the Mankato Free Press, and we're giving your host, Rob Murray, a day off today. But today we have one of our new reporters with us. Ethan Becker actually grew up in the Mankato area, correct?
Yeah.
And he comes to us after a stint with Adams Publishing, which published the Waseca County paper, and also with a TV station, KIMT.
KAL.
KAL. Okay, Austin.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
better get that right. Ethan's going to be covering schools, education, politics, local and state, as well as nonprofits. There's a lot of nonprofit news in this town. So we're just going to get to know Ethan a little bit, and maybe you can start by telling us, listeners, all about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Mapleton. I was born in Mapleton, Minnesota.
Okay.
Which is about half hour south.
Curling capital of the world.
Yes. I went to high school with somebody whose brother won gold in curling.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this
in the Olympics?
Landsteiner?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I often say that I am perhaps the only kid in America who was ever bullied in high school because he wasn't good at curling.
I like it. Landsteiner, he was in here when he won the gold. He came in and showed us the gold and everything. He did a tour around the city.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
But wow, okay, good start, Mapleton.
But then, my family moved when I was late middle school, moved to Mankato, and I was here from then until the end of college.
Wow.
Went to college at Bethany Lutheran. And
Yes.
Then,
and we know they have a great media arts program, which you were educated at.
Yeah, I wasn't a part of their production. They have a great production department. I didn't do much with their production.
Okay.
But I did a lot with their newspaper and their...
Yeah. Okay. So you've done TV and you've done reporting, print reporting, writing. What do you think the difference is? And when we were interviewing, you talked to me about wanting to kind of get more into writing again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so I was a producer at ABC6, and so my job there was to write a lot of the scripts for television, and then once we get into the booth, timing everything, monitoring, breaking news, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would say that one of the main differences is that I think there is a real sense of urgency or immediacy to television that isn't necessarily there in print, right? If something happens, at the TV station, you want to get it up online right away, even if it's just a 2-sentence little write-up, little thing. And something that I've always really liked about print is we always wait till we have a complete story.
Or most of
the complete story before we do anything.
Right, that's interesting. Yes, of course, in the print world, several years ago we became attuned to the urgency of online, so we do that as well. Yeah. But a good example of that last night, we like to, not just go with what people have said or what's online or... they had that crash at the Hillcrest Nursing Home. Somebody drove into the Hillcrest Nursing Home last night, and it was on social media. And there's a group that tracks scanner traffic, and they report on social media. We could have gone with that, but we don't usually do that unless it's the health of the community is at stake or something like that. We usually try to wait for the official sources, confirm what it was, and we did put reach out to the sheriff's department last night, and they just couldn't get us anything before deadline. So this morning, we got it. And yes, print can do that, and we can have a little more patience just because of the media and maybe the competition isn't so intense as it can be in television broadcasting. It seems like that's their that's their go-to thing, to be immediate and have video, of course. So you have video skills as well.
Yeah. I was with KAL for about 2.5 years, and I for the last half of that served as one of their photographers. So I would go out to various stories, and I would collect video and I would speak to people and get stories that way.
Cool. Sorry, my phone was telling me I have a podcast right now. So there we go. We're right on top of it, ahead of it. Interesting stories you've written in your career so far. What have been some of the? We were talking about when you were with Adams. You guys did a kind of a series on poverty.
Yes, yeah, that was a really difficult one. You know, the series focused on poverty in the area, but also people who kind of exist in that gray space where they are above the poverty line, but don't make too much rather to apply for assistance, right? So these are people who are still living paycheck to paycheck, but who can't get any assistance from the state because of the requirements set. Yeah. And that was a really interesting one to do, but also a very difficult one to do because it's something that a lot of people just don't want to talk about. Right.
You know, that's always a challenge with those kind of stories. Before I go too far here, I want to mention our sponsor, our generous sponsor. So the podcast is sponsored by Minnesota Valley Federal Credit Union, happily serving those who live, work, and do business in Blue Earth, Nicollet, LeSueur, Waseca, Brown, Watonwan counties since 1934. And we appreciate their sponsorship of this podcast. If you're getting something out of this, news value, community understanding, give those folks a shout out because they're making it happen. Some interesting news this week, and you just started this week, but you had kind of a cool story, one we've reported before. The local McDonald's gets a play place, and these are not just at every McDonald's we know. What happened here, the story behind it is a young girl, 11-year-old Ellie Rosier, is a student at Manuel Lutheran? Grace Lutheran, down at school, and they were charged with writing a business letter. And so her letter was to the McDonald's owners here in town, telling them, hey, you should get a play place here. And she was quite convincing, you'll get all these other kids who will come here, and you get more business. And McDonald's local owners thought about it, and they were ready to do a remodel anyway. So they thought, let's do it. Let's put it in. And they had a grand opening this week, and Ellie was able to come and cut the ribbon. And you covered that. What? Give us the sense of how that story plays out and what you do there.
Yeah, that was such a fun story to do. So, we show up, and one of the first people that we see is Colleen Van Blarcom, who is owner-operator of the store. Go up, you talk to her, introduce yourself, and she kind of sets you up with talking with everyone on the kind of organizational side of it. And then it's really cool when you see Ellie come in, and she was really just like the guest of honor that day. I mean, she got to do so many cool things. And I actually ended my day there and my visit there by talking with her and her mom. And it was really cool to see. She's kind of freaked out by everything. Yeah. Right? It was clear that she was like, she said that she doesn't always get the spotlight put on her. Yeah. And that day was like all about her and what she did, and it was so cool to talk to her and see her in that moment.
Yeah, there's a little getting used to the difference between interviewing politicians and 11-year-old girls. What do you think the difference is?
Well, the difference, especially with any kid, is that sometimes you have to kind of move them forward because you'll ask a question, you'll ask like, oh, how are you feeling today? And they'll go, good. and you have to kind of ask some follow-ups and get some thoughts. But one of the things that I love about talking with young people is that when you get them talking about something that they're excited about, they'll just go. And then it can be a really great interview because they're just going and going and going. Whereas sometimes, when you're talking with politicians, it's like you're kind of listening and trying to hear exactly if they've answered your question. You kind of almost have to be on guard in a way that you don't have to be if you're talking to a young person.
Right. The politicians may be a little more guarded than an 11-year-old. Let's just say that. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
But a cool story nonetheless. Speaking of restaurants, there's also another new restaurant opening in North Mankato, Benedict's, which is going to be primarily a breakfast place, and we interviewed them. So check out the paper this week for that story. A nice young couple running it. They own a few others, and they seem really excited. And they were particularly mentioning North Mankato a lot. So I think they connected with the North Mankato folks on the development. And Max DeMars, the developer, who's done a lot of North Mankato things. So it looks to be a really interesting place. Of course, they special in Eggs Benedict. Do you like Eggs Benedict?
Love it. Love it so much.
It's not the first thing I order at a place, but breakfast place. But it sounds like they're going to have like 8 versions of it. So that could be interesting. New restaurants are always big news, so make sure you catch that again by subscribing online or in print. We write stories about all the new restaurants we know about. In fact, I think we mentioned in our Sunday package about all the new businesses starting and coming to Mankato. Mark Fishnick had it in the Sunday paper, so look for that. There was also a still looks like Popeyes. Louisiana chicken, right? Have you ever eaten there?
I think I ate there once when I went to Florida.
Spicy chicken, supposedly really good.
Yeah,
I think I've had it once. But everybody, again, raves for it, kind of going back all the way back to when people raved about needing a Red Lobster. That was 30 years ago. So people want the Louisiana chicken. There's kind of been delay, but now Mark checked into City Hall records again, and I think it might be closer than it has been in the past. So stay tuned for our coverage to, when Popeyes is going to be here. You can't miss that. Talking about business, there's a huge expansion going to go underway for Rolls-Royce Solutions. It's a company that is here, and it is connected to the Rolls-Royce car, but they do manufacturing generators and things like that. It used to be Catolite, used to be a local company, but they're expanding big time. $24 million generator plant expansion underway, 100 new jobs. So again, crucial news that you be good to know if you had a subscription to the Free Press. But this is kind of amazing. They're expanding because of these expansion of data centers. Apparently, a lot of the data centers need backup generators for crucial data crunching and AI crunching. It's kind of amazing what is coming, and we're trying to track the interest in North Mankato in a data center. We've just done a few little stories about it, so we'll keep tracking that. But it seems like we're getting more and more expansions of local manufacturing, and that is I don't know how unique it is, but it seems like it is somewhat unique. And then Mark's story also there's a new daycare coming to Mankato, and it's going to take kids with autism and other developmentally charged issues. So that's kind of cool to see. Expansion of daycare. It's called Patience and Bubbles Childcare. Crazy story of the week: a goat napping. Goat napping out at the Goofy Goat Farm. Somebody stole a 1-week-old baby goat, white hair, blue eyes, which they say are rare and sought after. Sought after for what? I'm not sure. What would you just have the goat to sell to somebody?
Well, for breeding purposes, I imagine they talked about that. The goat was a female, and so all of her babies will have blue eyes as well. So I imagine for breeding purposes.
I guess I've never seen a goat with blue eyes. Have you?
I don't think I've ever paid attention to the eye color of any of the goats that I've met. But
yeah.
I don't I can't recall. So
Yeah. So we're following that story, and I'm sure we'll be updated if they find it. The owners have said, if you bring it back, no questions asked. And apparently they just saw somebody kind of trotting to their pickup, carrying the goat, and drove away with it. So, that goat farm is kind of cool, I guess. Kids can just go there and have fun with the goats, and they're very social animals. So we'll keep track of that. Another big news, couple tornadoes spotted south of Mankato this week. Looks like Heartland. That was part of what you maybe used to cover in Waseca County, Heartland?
Right around there, that area.
We
one of the school districts we covered was NRHEG, which included Heartland.
Very rural out there. There looks like there's some photos of farm that got hit, but it wasn't a wide-ranging tornado, and it didn't do a lot of damage. But nonetheless, we tracking that, and we, again, this is something we track at night. We have a system of getting immediate reports from the National Weather Service, so we're updating people all the time on this kind of thing. I mentioned in a recent opinion piece how great it is to see people also petitioning their government these days. We had the big rally on the No Kings rally where 3,500 people showed up. And then we had faith leaders come to City Hall in Mankato just recently here and, speak out about the big, beautiful bill going through Congress and how there are many things they're worried about, from healthcare to other social services that'll be cut. As part of your political beat, you'll kind of be tracking the reaction to the big, beautiful bill. Tell us about what your plans are.
Yeah. So we were talking about this earlier, that the Trump administration has kind of self-imposed a July 4th deadline to get the bill back on Trump's desk, which means that Congress has 7 days to not only pass it through the Senate, but then it has to go back to the House to approve any changes that the Senate makes. And so right now I'm looking at talking with local people and local legislators about what the impacts of this bill could be on our community.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything before that affects state government so much. All the money filters down through a lot of these state programs, and the states run, the local Medicaid program and deal directly on the ground with people who get these services. So I know the state legislators have been really talking about this a lot and how it's going to affect the state budget and how it's going to affect people in rural Minnesota. A lot of them get Medicaid. There are a lot of older folks in rural Minnesota. Many, I think one rural county in Minnesota, I think I heard something like 90% of the people get some kind of Medicaid. So, that's really going to affect the rural areas we deal with. And then they're worried about the rural hospitals as well. Reading something that they were worried about that in the Senate, and they were thinking about creating a rural hospital fund to shore up some of the rural hospitals, $15 billion or something like that. Not a lot of money in the scope of federal spending, but who knows? There could be a lot of things that play out that'll have us reporting on a lot of local things and how this plays out. So that's another thing readers can watch for. Coming up, I'm going to say Sunday Story. We have a fascinating story. You really want to catch the Sunday paper. Mark Fishnick, again, has written about this new development that's happening in one of the old abandoned quarries in Mankato. Talk of amusement park, I should say adventure park, RV park, other recreational things that looks like it's really got some legs and is going forward. So he's got the scoop on that for the Sunday paper. You'll want to catch that. Just give our sponsor another shout out here, Minnesota Valley Federal Credit Union. Thanks for sponsoring this podcast. If you get something out of this, give them a shout out. Anything else, Ethan, you want to talk about your experience or plan B or why you wanted to come work for the Free Press?
I'm excited to be here. I mean, this was, my hometown paper growing up, and it's kind of a dream to be able to keep doing what I'm passionate about and keep doing what I want to be doing in a place where, I don't have to leave all my family. That's, as you know, that's kind of the downside to this job, is sometimes it takes you to the far corners of the world, and I'm really thankful that I'm able to do it next to a bunch of people that I know.
Yeah, that's cool. And you don't have to take time getting to know the city or where Rabbit End Dam is, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool. Well, we're glad to have you. And we encourage readers to reach out to Ethan. You have story ideas. Becker at MankatoFreePress.com is his email address. And you see him out in the community, say hi. Going to close with our quote of the week, and it comes from the story we talked about, the McDonald's Play Place. And this is Ellie Rozier's mom, who's talking about how cool it was for her to be the center of attention here, and how she kind of became the influencer for the Play Place in Mankato McDonald's. She says, it's definitely a lot of fun and exciting to get to have your kid be involved with something so big in the community. The fact that McDonald's was willing to pull her into a project this big says a lot about how they feel about this community. Sounds great. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next time.